why don't we start out today with some financial stuff, before we get to the banks and the geopolitical stuff that we're going to get to. So, and again, if you did stumble upon us recently, we are a different animal in a world of brokers and all these big companies with their pressure and quotas. We are a fully independent fourth generation family practice. So we're totally different. Anyway, the markets. we're sitting at 40,000 now in the Dow. I, is
Well,
that
it's
weird?
under right now, but that could change.
Well, it closed. I mean, it on, what was it, the 16th? It popped into it on the 17th, I believe it was, on Friday. It closed over 40,000. So it's if it's under, it's right near it. But 40,000, it's funny because that number, I mean, I started in the late 90s. I mean, you there's no way you could ever fathom 25,000. There was no way 15 years ago you could fathom 25,000. Now we're sitting at 40, and I'm
Well, the
wondering,
dot-com bubble burst about 15, and then 2008, it got all the way up to 15 again before it collapsed. So I remember I was in the office when it went to 20 and 23 and watching you talk about it, and then, thinking if we're still in this bubble system, there's no way that it'll continue to go up, but I was wrong. I mean, it
yeah,
dropped to
here we are.
18 in 2020. That means it's more than doubled in 4 years.
And why? I mean, what is are these companies that healthy? If you look at the inflation financially, there's two sides of it. There's the side of corporate greed. I get all my news from Facebook, so I get to see how a lot of people are blaming this on big corporations. Obviously, corporations are in this to make money. You've talked about how their first duty is to make the shareholders money, you know? So basically, corporate greed. The other side of the fence, what about government greed? What about government stupidity? I mean, can you spend enough money ever, government? I mean, is it ever going to be enough? I'm not sure how we get out of inflation. The two choices are everybody loses their job and we finally go into deflation, or we keep going and it probably is going to increase and take us more towards hyperinflation. So I don't know. It's not good. But this ridiculous Dow Jones, the 40,000, we haven't visited this in a little while, so maybe today's a good day to do so. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is 30 companies. If you're thinking it's this big, series of complex situations, it's not. It's 30 companies. And I would say the 30 companies that stay in the Dow are ones they want to be there, because when one doesn't perform the way they want it to, they pull it out. The most recent example, just a couple months ago, they took out Walgreens and they put in Amazon. What would you say is a more stable, more conservative, more benchmark type company? I would say Walgreens, but I don't know. I mean, Amazon is it's taken over the world, so good on them. But when a company underperforms, they take it out, put in a new one. So that's kind of a rigged game. Then when you look at the companies that are in there, talk about corporate greed, talk about profit centers. When you look at some of these companies, they have stuff made overseas, bring it here to sell it at ridiculous profit margins. Then they take a lot of those profits and they move it to overseas bank accounts so they can avoid our tax structure. That you haven't talked in a while about stock repurchasing or stock buybacks. They use this massive money to take their own stock off the street, and the law of scarcity, the less there is out there, the more it's worth. So the whole thing it's shocking to me. And I guess how I have to look at this, there is nothing really, there's really not anything I can point to lately that's positive news. I mean, are we spending within our means? Are we making our country safe? Are we bringing back manufacturing? What are we doing in this country that's supporting these numbers? I can't find it. So I don't, I mean, this is weird. If you look into why the Dow is hovering at 40,000, the only thing you're going to really find consistently is because the stock market, and I'm talking about it like it's a person, is waiting for the federal gurus to lower interest rates. What, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So the companies are up because we're waiting for the interest rates. The when you dig into the companies, the stock buybacks making them more profitable, the corporate greed, there certainly is some profit, some high profits nowadays.